All good things must come to an end. Hey Internet, welcome back to What's the Points? So if you're on some of the forums I am, you've probably already heard the news that there are verified reports of people getting their Chase business cards reported to their personal credit bureau reports. And so if this is being rolled out to everyone, this has some major implications for all of us interested in credit card rewards, points and miles. So stick around for a little bit and let's dive into this, okay? Doctor of Credit have been reporting back about certain Chase business cards reporting to their personal credit bureau. What are the implications of this? The most obvious one is that suddenly your 524 count, as we call it, the number of what we used to say, presumably, personal credit cards opened in the last 24 months is limited to 5 if you're going to get approved for any Chase credit card. So now, without any kind of warning, we're stuck with all of a sudden having a greater 524 count for any of us who have opened Chase business cards in the last 24 months. What I would like this video to be more about, rather than a speculation on the current events right now, as of March 2nd, 2025, is to look at what are the strategy implications for this type of change, because this brought up a few things that I think it's worth any enthusiast in this hobby really taking a good look at. And so I wanted to go over what I think are some of the top ways to diversify the way that you earn and manage your rewards. Diversification is important, and this comes in different flavors. Diversification of strategy, diversification of the currencies that we have for points and miles. What we've seen is a golden age up till now of being able to really open as many cards as we want, for the most part, so long as they're business cards. Recently, we've seen some signals that this is starting to change, most particularly with the so-called Chase Ink train. A few months ago, there had been some pretty significant reports of a much tighter approval process by Chase, particularly when opening multiple ink cards. So a lot of people have predicted the demise of the ink train. And so for those of us who are really heavily dependent on the Chase ecosystem, particularly if you rely on Hyatt hotels, for example, then this could really affect your strategy. Well, now, if it's true that Chase is planning on reporting all business cards to personal bureaus, which we don't know yet, rather than be about speculation about the news, really, to me, the biggest takeaway right now is, in fact, that we should be looking at diversifying the way that we earn and manage these points. The most obvious thing you might think is, well, okay, maybe I should just focus on Amex. But the reality, of course, is that Chase, being the biggest bank, sets the tone. It's quite possible that we might see all banks start issuing business cards to personal credit reports. And so, especially for all lenders that approve or deny your cards based on the number of recent new accounts, which is the majority of them, then this would seem to really be an opportunity to slow down application velocity. And of course, sign-up bonuses have always been the quickest and most efficient way to earn a lot of points. If that starts going away a little bit, then we might want to look at some of these other strategies. And ultimately, this is all in service of making this hobby sustainable and fun and manageable in the long run. Now, for those of us who have been able to be serial sub-chasers, as it were, serial, sign-up bonus aficionados, a move in this direction would certainly make that strategy much more difficult. And if we've been relying exclusively on that strategy, then this could be double bad news, because now if you want to pivot to a different strategy, that might be tough, because maybe that strategy involves working on your core setup. And so I have Stan the Credit Frog in the back of my mind. Our good colleague Stan has really perfected the art of managing a tight portfolio of a core setup, including primary and secondary cards and so forth. If we've already been working on that, and particularly for new personal cards, my approach in recent times has always been to limit myself where possible to opening new personal cards that I know that I would keep in a year or two once the annual fee posts for that second year and you're no longer earning further sign-up bonuses. That's something I would start looking at. How can you start massaging your core setup in a way that will lead to more reliable points earnings without the benefit of having a nonstop train of subs? And that leads me into my second one, which is really learning the multipliers. Now, the multipliers don't tell you everything because if you have tons of United miles, let's say, but no Delta miles, unless you live somewhere where there's really zero options for Delta, then you need to look beyond the net value you get from a given purchase based on its multiplier. That's a good place to start. You could use the points guy or frequent miler or other benchmarks for what an expected value for your currency is. But you also need to look at your specific strategy of which points are a priority to accumulate based on your travel and spending habits. Looking and understanding the multipliers is important both from the strategy of which points you're trying to focus on, which ecosystems, but also in terms of having a setup that you can optimize your earning with respect to the level of complexity. So optimize doesn't necessarily mean maximum earning. To me, the optimum strategy for multipliers is one that is reliable and dependable and is not a headache to manage. So for me, I use a tool called Card Pointers, and I do pay for the premium subscription. And I rely on this tool a lot because I'm able to track specifically offers and credits. But one of the other features it has, helping you figure out what specific card is the best to use at any given merchant or any given store, let's say. So for me, it's a quick way, let's say, of seeing if there's a merchant offer before I make a purchase, because a merchant offer most likely is going to give you much more value than a higher multiplier would on a different card. You know, other than the benefits of tracking which monthly rotating credits and so forth, that's where I use it the most to make sure that I'm getting the most value out of my cards that have annual fees, particularly Amex cards, because there's only so much I really want to have to track in a spreadsheet. I got enough stuff on my spreadsheet already. And so having a tool that can manage and do this for you, I think is going to become increasingly more important if we're going to start relying on multipliers. Because with multipliers now, let's say by contrast to chasing subs, you know, the good thing about a sub is that you can put all your spend on it, right? And you don't have to worry about multipliers. You just put everything on it and then you hit that sub and you move on to your next, right? But with multipliers, you got to really track, okay, well, which one is my best card for groceries and for online shopping and gas and so forth. And you know, doing so in a way that really doesn't take too much of your time and having good catch-all cards that you can fall back on so that you're not sitting there and, you know, having everyone else wait for you to pay for something when you're looking through your wallet of 20 plus cards or whatever. Oh, which one? I don't know. Just use your catch-all card in a pinch, you know? So getting good with multipliers will be important. But let's say you're really sad. You're like, well, I loved earning fast and it allows me to accumulate enough points to take, you know, these fancy trips I want to take and so on. Particularly because maybe you're someone who doesn't have a very high spend. And so that's understandable. However, point stacking is still the most unappreciated strategy in this game. And I'm honestly shocked to not see more people looking at this. Now, I know a lot of us are looking at, for example, Rakuten is a really good example of a shopping portal. But when I refer to point stacking in general, it's all the different ways that we can earn value on top of those multipliers that we get from our credit cards. Certain principles to put into practice here. One, anytime you're making a purchase, particularly an online purchase, you want to see whether or not there's a shopping portal that will give you additional rewards on top of whatever your credit card's giving you. Now, you can use a site like Cashback Monitor. One caveat, though, is that that doesn't necessarily include every program, but all you got to do is look up your merchant and it'll tell you which portal at that moment is giving which amount of rewards. So even if you favor one, let's say Rakuten, you might find, oh, look at that. American Airlines portal is offering 10 miles per dollar, while Rakuten's only 5. So, that's a great opportunity to accumulate yourself some AA miles and so forth. That's really the biggest one. There's also dining portals. Pretty much all of the airlines now have a dining portal. And Bilt, of course, they've really popularized this. Be aware that you can only have one credit card linked at a time to a particular dining portal. So make sure you track which ones are attached to which programs. Here's one that's super underappreciated. It's what I call the periodic offers. Now, Chase, they're not all villains in this story. Recently in this quarter, they have been sending out targeted offers to earn 5x points back on in a broad set of categories: dining, gas, and grocery. Grocery being particularly valuable with regards to how rare it is to be able to earn back grocery on Chase cards. There were several of my cards, and fortunately ones that I never really use. In particular, the United Gateway card, which was my $0 keep your card open, but don't use it. I've gotten to use it a ton. It was up to $1,000. So right there, I earned 5,000 miles on United. So that was really easy to do. And I've seen similar targeted offers from Barclays, from Amex, and so forth. Keep an eye out for those. Check your emails. Log in your apps occasionally and look through the different promos and offers tabs. And not just from your banks, but also as a good reminder, these promos always exist with all of your favorite companies, and regularly you'll see different promos. Most of them you have to opt into, whether it's double points per night at a Hilton or double elite night credits at a Hyatt. Always check your promos tab in your airline or hotel app and see what's available for you. The last one I'll touch on here is merchant offers. This is one that pretty much all the issuers have. And again, Card Pointers is a great tool to automatically add them for you across different banks, allow you to search for them. It's a great way to just type in a specific merchant that you're looking to make a purchase at and quickly at a glance see your offers across all your different cards. And that'll allow you to maybe do like a triple stack, right? Because you could stack a merchant offer, say $20 back off of a purchase of $50 or more at winesrus.com or whatever. So you could get a shopping portal bonus for using that. You could get your merchant offer credit back and the multiplier you're using from your card. So right there, that's a triple stack. And it's more common than you'd think, especially for certain categories of merchants that tend to have a lot of marketing budget. Right now, I've noticed, for example, the food delivery services, they seem to have an unlimited marketing budget right now. I keep seeing multiple stacking offers on some of these different services, such as Blue Apron, Factor 75, HelloFresh, Green Chef. I mean, there's a whole host of them and more keep coming out. Some of them are better than others, I'll just say that. But it's amazing the amount of the highest rewards per dollar of any purchase that I've seen lately has consistently been those meal delivery services, which is pretty wild. Regardless of what happens in the news, my interest here was really in showing you some of the things that I think everyone should be doing in this hobby so that they don't get too stuck in a specific mode of chasing sign-up bonuses for points, but instead have access to these other ways that, while on the surface are maybe less reward per dollar, the reality is that they might actually be less risk and less complexity because you're using cards that you already have. You're not having to get inquiries, because even if they don't report to your bureaus, you're still going to get those hard pulls, with the exception of Amex usually. And so certain lenders are more inquiry sensitive than others. The reality is that opening new cards and tracking those subs is not without its risks and complexity and drawbacks. Ultimately, I don't think it's realistic to expect that we can keep sub-chasing forever. I think that, like everything else in this game, things will continue to evolve at a fast pace. And so the more diverse our strategy in terms of how we earn and redeem, the better off we'll be. That way, we're always one step ahead of the banks in that regard. So happy Sunday, everyone, if it's a Sunday for you. And let's all take care of each other. Ciao for now.